Welcome back to Absolutely Marvel and DC. My name is Benny, that is Hassan, and that is Sal. And today we're going to be talking about the Marvels, talking about it in full spoilers, what we enjoyed, what we didn't enjoy, what we think about the movie. But today's episode is brought to you by one of our sponsors, Gamersubs. Where's my drink? Gamersubs, use code comics at checkout. We'll move to the other sponsor, Shortbox. I don't have that either. Shortbox, to use it an app to get yourself some CGC graded comic books. Check that one out as well. If you want Absolutely to continue, check out both of those or go to our Patreons, Comic Story and Patreon, to continue things going as is. There you go. I managed to get 3 sponsors in there, and yeah, but they're all the sponsors. All the links are down below. They've been with the channel for a while. I've been here the longest.
Your channel.
You're comic historian, I think.
I am comic historian. All right, so moving forward, let's talk about the Marvels. Let's give our initial reactions, and then we'll go deep dive into all the different elements. Hassan, why don't you go first?
Oh, I mean, it was a fun movie. It wasn't like it's not like this is gonna shatter the world. It's so good. It's also not like this is so miserably bad. I couldn't imagine anyone liking it. It's got some good set pieces. It's got some fun chemistry. It's got some weird acting, but like it's fun to watch nonetheless. I was like, right before I saw it on Saturday, so it was just enough time for people who have gotten that initial review in where they really, really hated it, and Twitter was crapping on how it's some of the worst lifeless thing Marvel's put out. And I was like, you guys not watch Ant-Man? Like, was I the only one who watched Ant-Man? Anybody else watch Multiverse of Madness? Like, just me? Okay, alone. So I was cool with it, man. Like, it's maybe a movie I will never see again. I thought some of the acting was fun. I thought some of the acting was bad. I thought that was, again, a terrible Marvel villain, and that's how I feel about it. A terrible, which I was saying that the second they were introduced, and it's like British villain doing this face where it's like, I'm powerful, and they're like doing this weird side eye looking like, no.
Every time she came on screen, I just checked out.
Yeah, I did too. I did too, and you didn't lose anything. You don't lose anything plot wise.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, and if I'll segue to me, I think that the villain is secondary to what the actual movie is about. Like the villain is there to create an outside conflict, right? Because honestly, there's a B plot in this movie about the ship or the station for Saber, and I don't remember how the station was in trouble. Like, things just stopped working, and I think it's because of the jump port. But I was like, after the movie's over, I'm like, I don't remember why they needed to abandon the station. Like, I was just like confused. But
it was the jump point being affected by the sun.
Right, it was happening up there, and I was like, what? But the reality is, none of those things mattered because the movie isn't really about either of those things. Like, the conflict is in the interpersonal drama and in between, like, the character interactions, which are like so much more fun. Like, you can do the same thing for many Marvel movies. What does Loki want? His dad to love him. What does Obadiah Stane want? More money? Why does he like? He has an arc reactor. Why does he make deals with like the Middle East? Like, what are you talking about, man? Like, there's a lot of
Stane is one of my biggest problems because it's like he wants more money. I'm like, isn't he already a multi-millionaire? What do you?
Right? Yeah, but Tony's more rich. Like,
Benny just described the geopolitical situation of the world right now.
I understand.
Why do you need more money, dude?
Yeah, aren't you rich enough? But it's like never. Like,
isn't that the general argument with every Lex Luthor plot? I want to rule more of the world. Why? Well, you already are the richest man around.
I know. You guys say that in comic books, and again, in the real world, you ask real billionaires that question, and they're like, "I want even more. I have Amazon, and I want everything else."
Yeah, like, no, dude. I get wanting to build like a power armor suit. Like that's cool.
Fire, dude.
These idiots just want like ugly cars and like more money. I don't understand. You have more money than any human being could ever amount in 100 lifetimes. Anyway,
spend it all.
Yeah, spend it on me. Give me some money.
Give it to me.
Give it to me. I will dazzle your imagination with what I come up with to do with that money. But no. But the reality, like for me, I didn't like. For whatever reason, it wasn't as egregious as some other villains that I've seen before in Marvel productions. Where like she didn't insist upon herself, but she also didn't add anything to the plot. She's there to drive the plot forward. She might as well have been a tape recorder or like the Holy Grail, like something they need to get. You could have actually had a conflictless movie where they need to get a thing, and they keep bumping into different like civilizations that misinterpret that thing as being something that they want, and so they get in the way of it. Like, it could have just been anything, but because there's like an antagonist that's like, I want to do this because I'm mad. I'm like, right on, Ronan the Accuser. I want to influence the Ronan the Accuser from Guardians 1, one of the most beloved Marvel movies of all time, is like, I want to exact revenge on something that no one saw, nor will we ever see, on a race of people we never get time enough to care about. Like, no, there's a million of these. And The Marvels is not the movie to crack the villain formula. If Doctor Doom was the villain, it would be a travesty. The nameless Kree bad guy with bad orthodontia, I'm not going to lose sleep over
Couldn't tell you that the villain's name.
Nope.
I couldn't tell you. I know she's Kree adjacent. She's not blue, so I imagine
Not
she's
blue
not
nor
Kree.
pink.
Not blue nor pink. She's not one of those people of colorful.
No, in the comics, the white people looking Kree are called the pink skins.
Oh, dude, that's crazy.
Like, they're not Caucasian. They're
called the pink
pink
skins.
Like the blue ones.
Like, exactly.
But yeah, no, but again, like, that is the harshest criticism I can give it, is just like yet another, even more like worthless villain.
Yeah.
Benny, take it away.
Okay.
Please.
I was like, my biggest complaint is 90% of my actual complaints come out of what I think to be pacing issues. I feel like Dar-Benn, Captain Marvel, and the High Intelligence, like, there's a whole movie missing.
That's a whole damn movie.
There's a whole movie missing that explains most of these motivations, what's going on, and everything.
Yes.
I feel like I really did enjoy this movie a lot.
Yeah.
I went to go see more Miss Marvel, and she did not disappoint in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
agree.
Iman was fantastic.
I actually, before watching this,
Yeah.
I watched the Moist critical review on it. And then watching the movie, I was like, I don't think he watched the same movie.
Charlie hates everything.
Yeah.
Charlie
Oh,
hates everything.
I know.
I didn't watch it, but I imagine it was something along the lines of, so The Marvels is a movie that nobody gives an entire about. I can't really cuss on this channel, but nobody cared about, and no one came to act, and it's terrible in every way.
His biggest complaints was that they moved too quickly, and I'm like, so it's an obvious pacing one. He's
It
like,
was an hour and 45 minutes long. Like,
Yeah.
they knew people weren't going to sit through a 2.5 hour long Marvels movie.
right.
They weren't.
So,
They cut some stuff,
but
for
what
sure.
I'm saying, so I kind of went in there kind of expecting it to not be that great based
Yeah.
on him just kind of crapping out a lot of the stuff. But
Sure.
a lot of his complaints, I was just like, okay, so your issue is that you feel like they moved from one point to the other without spending more time to reflect on the loss of people. The movie, if you pay attention, they're not saying that they're literally going from 30 minutes to away. And yes, we could have had more time reflecting on it, but they're just moving the movie too quick. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, there's an entire plot involving Captain Marvel, Dar-Benn, and the High Intelligence that seems to be just missing, because my biggest complaint, and I'll just segue into the actual talking about it,
Yeah.
is she's like, I went and destroyed the AI. And I Googled the first movie to be like, did I miss the ending of Captain Marvel 1?
No.
And they show her doing it. And at no point do they explain how that act ruined the planet.
No, I don't understand how that works.
They talk about it in the final, like, several scenes.
Yeah.
It's like a handful
All she
of scenes.
says is, I did this.
So
and
here's why it
caused the
happened.
Civil War. And
Because
that's all.
the people talk about it. It's because they had been run by an AI for so long, they literally did not know how to take care of themselves or what to do to take care of their planet. And for whatever reason, the AI was like retrofitting, terraforming, keeping the planet healthy. Like, it wasn't a planet that was necessarily like naturally inhabitable, like, say, Earth is. It was like doing something, but it's like, you missed it. It's such a tiny little piece of dialogue.
There are a lot of moments like that in this movie.
I feel like the point of this movie, I don't think was Dar-Benn. I don't think it was Saber. I think the point of this was our three heroes, mostly Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau, moving past their trauma and their issues, while introducing Miss Marvel as the lighthearted fun, because they're going to be so depressed over their stuff.
Yeah.
To kind of like bring the group together.
Yeah.
And that it reminded me of The Life of Captain Marvel, which had a villain, but there wasn't the point of the book. The book was about her overcoming her anxieties and issues coming out of killing Tony Stark in Civil War II. So, like, to me, the movie was like, oh, that the point of this was them overcoming these issues and referencing back to what happened.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's honestly a bummer with a character as powerful as Captain Marvel. You can't necessarily put them in a situation where they can't physically get out of by, like, flying out of it. Because this is a movie where you abandon your characters on some galaxy, you have them planet hopping on a real crappy star cruiser, and they're bouncing between it and they're getting to know each other because the chemistry is fun. It's entertaining to watch them on screen. You can tell the moments of this movie that are not written dialogue, that are just improv, and how much better they are. And not to like crap on the writers. I'm sure there was a lot of studio oversight and, like, frustrations that led to some lackluster writing in this, but and some like wonky directing choices and things like that. But the chemistry is fun, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know, some people really upset that the Captain Iman Vellani's Miss Marvel scene where she meets Captain Marvel is overshadowed by the genocide of the what do you call it? The Skrulls.
Oh yeah.
The
Well,
Skrulls being
I
killed.
think that's a big part of the pacing issue because they're
Yeah,
trying to
it's a
move
pacing
so
problem. You're right. You're
quick.
exactly right.
If they'd given us like a 5-minute scene where they actually got to reflect on a lot of the things, and I think that's a pacing problem combined with an MCU problem because they wanted to move too quickly to the next exciting fight or joke.
Yes.
And that was what I even tweeted about. The pacing felt weird because it'd be like joke, fight, big drama, lots of death, and then like we don't get time to stay on that. We go right to the joke.
You know,
Yeah.
it's interesting you say that because I've definitely had criticisms on Marvel movies before like that, and I think it might have something to do with my level of investment in the things that are being undercut, like the Skrulls. Like after Secret Invasion, I couldn't give a
Yeah.
Could not
about
care
those
less.
Skrulls. So like for me, you know, it's like it's sad. Any loss of life is very sad. But like moving on was the best thing they could do. You know, for me, I'm like, I don't care. Like for me, all I wanted was to see more interaction with these characters, and it's like the sequence in which they like go, well, we're gonna have a minute. We got to learn how to use our powers and our new power set of like switching.
Fun.
I'm like, what a delight! And it allowed for each of them to inform an element of that fight and an element of their character and develop those characters without wasting a lot of time with characters saying, I feel like this. And it's like, oh, I didn't know you felt like that because I feel like that. You know, just a lot of nonsense, a lot of word salads, just filling the air with nothing and wasting screen time. Like, I think it moved at a good clip, and I enjoyed every interaction that those ladies had with each other and with the world outside. I got to like it all the major criticisms that I could imagine, but I've certainly watched a lot of these movies with like with a strong editing hand. This one, I'm like, maybe it's because the stakes felt really low. One of my main concerns or frustrations outside of the villain was just kind of like, no, worlds are being destroyed again. Oh well, like
Well, I mean, that's a problem with the Marvel comics.
Yeah,
like whenever they get into the cosmic plane and we're no longer near Earth, it doesn't matter how many planets are involved. It just doesn't feel that heavy because it doesn't affect us.
Yeah,
which is actually why I think we had the Saber plot, so that maybe we would care a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, well, of course they're going to Earth. I'm like, here we go.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like we had to at some point have them.
Well, and adding Kamala's family up to the Saber area was a good idea because a lot of these are nameless, faceless, British-speaking aliens.
Yeah, I don't care.
Asgardians. Until he said he's 300 years old, I'm like, oh, that is an Asgardian.
Oh, I didn't even put that together. I thought he was Kree. I like that though. That's great that he's Asgardian. Like, what a smart idea.
Yeah,
I mean, adding the little
release program between those
potential romance between Valkyrie and Captain Marvel. That was a pretty funny, random little thing that was added in there. That I was like,
that's why I put it together that he's Asgardian because they've already referenced Asgard.
Yeah,
right.
You know, when they can use the Bifrost and stuff. And I gotta say, this is a fun movie.
Yeah.
Like we just had somebody in the comments be like, I hate the singing sequence. It was dumb. It was stupid. The singing sequence.
I thought that was cute.
It was so funny, dude. And you had like one of the biggest stars in Korea.
I hated the singing.
Okay, cool, man. I loved
hold
it.
on. What I'm saying is, I appreciate that the singing was reduced to like 5 minutes.
That's the thing. It's so short that I was like, what a cute little moment. Moving on.
It is a good bit that lives the exact amount it should
and that's
live.
exactly how I look at it. I don't think the bit landed the way they were hoping, and I think the problem for me was where it was in the movie. Because we're at a point where the stakes have gotten as high as they're going to get.
Yes.
And then we take this break to go discover that she's a princess on a singing planet. Another element of a missing Captain Marvel 2 movie.
So that's the point. I mean, like you're saying it's a missing movie, but that's what they're going for. They're going for. They're going for the fact that nobody wanted to come to theaters and see another Captain Marvel solo flick.
No, they didn't.
So instead of doing that, they've finally given her a personality because they struggled to write her a personality into the first one, and the personality is given through flashbacks, anecdotal stories, little moments like here I'm a princess, here's these things. I see why you'd want to see that, but they want you to still discover her, but you want to be discovering her the way the characters are, not necessarily the way the story did. Not her discovering herself. She knows who she is. We're finding out through like she destroyed the high intelligence because she was too angry. She was an angry, rageful being, and she's doing unreasonable things because she's ridiculously overpowered, right? And then she goes on a singing planet. She's doing diplomatic missions. It's supposed to be like she's doing silly stuff too.
Yeah.
That's show you that she has levity in space, right? And then like
this did a much better job of showing Captain Marvel than the
big
first
time,
Yeah,
better than the first
she's a
movie. The first movie
person.
was pretty well done, but like I understand why some people might have seen her as being like caustic.
I just didn't
And
like. Yeah, she just didn't feel like she had texture or personality. Like I couldn't tell you anything beyond, well, she's the protagonist. Like she
And
feels
that was
like the
issue with her in the
protagonist.
first movie.
Yeah.
What I do feel happened, because of my complaints, I feel like there was a Captain Marvel 2 movie in which she went to the high intelligence, and they agreed to scrap it to move to the third movie, which is where
Yep.
we are now.
Yep.
Just because of the missing elements, and like I said, there's a whole story in the middle there.
Yeah.
Just like how did Monica go from there to being in space on Saber? Like
Right.
that missing Captain Marvel movie probably also
Well, there's
explains how
Well, she
Saber
gets-
got to
there's
this.
a
Didn't she
deleted
get recruited at
post-credit
the
scene.
end of
Yeah.
WandaVision? I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure she gets recruited
Yeah,
for
she gets
Saber
a
at the end of that.
Well,
Yeah.
she does get recruited, but I'm saying we go from that to Saber's fully functional. Nick Fury comes out of Secret Invasion into there.
Yep.
You know, like once again, we're just
So,
missing a middle ground. And I'm
I
okay
mean, let
with
me-
it though, because they didn't do a bad job of explaining what was missing.
Well, also
And
because like
the
it would
things
be
that I have
boring.
questions. Well, and the things that I have questions about aren't important.
Yeah,
Like
well,
you
also remember
explained what I was missing from how did her doing this lead to this?
Yeah, same.
It's not important. It really isn't. So
And it's not important. And I'll say like, okay, Captain Rambo not being like not having much context for leading to where they are, how they're using their powers. They're very much in like the early phases of using their powers. They're using it in like really like subdued ways, like tiny little lasers, whatever. And then they do the crazy stuff later in the movie.
Yeah.
But like Captain Rambo could have been like, forget WandaVision, pretend WandaVision doesn't exist.
Right.
And then they could throw out a line that, oh yeah, my mutant gene activated since they're doing mutants, whatever. And I got these powers and we don't know why. And they could leave it at that. And it would functionally be like perfectly fine from the first movie to this one. We don't need that middle point. That's there. Hey, look, she grew up. She was the same kid from the early movie. The mom died. You know, we could actually, I wonder, you could probably just do a couple tweaks in the edit, change one piece of dialogue, and I think the movie would flow the same without the implication of WandaVision. And then you would lose the need for like that in-between movie or whatever. But I see it's like there's lots of stuff that happens to these characters that we don't see off screen. Like, I mean, Thor and the Guardians went on a whole adventure, and think about the fun of that movie. Like, what is that movie where they go on adventures together and they roam the galaxy and you have all that comedic dynamic? We lose all of that.
Yeah.
Lost
Well,
all of that on the cutting room floor.
The only problem I have with the Captain Marvel 2 missing from this equation is just that 3 seems like it needed a lot of Captain Marvel 2. But I agree. I think it would have been a boring movie.
Yeah.
Based on what we do know actually happened in it, based on the Marvels and what it tells us, I'm like, yeah, I get that we're missing this. And I get it probably would have given me more context for here, but I don't think it would have been a good movie based on what we do see and what we do know.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it got to where we needed to. It sounded like, if anything, it would have left out a downer note because she didn't save everyone.
That flashback sequence is great. Like, I think that like collective consciousness sequence where they're coming through her memories and you watch like her last interaction with the old Captain Rambo before she passes away, like during the blip.
Yeah.
That's the most powerful stuff in the movie. That made me like genuinely emotional.
For me,
that's very important.
The moment that really got me, because that was a really great moment, and it's also like it was a moment that was in WandaVision, and we really like it was still, you know, it was like, oh, that's paying off a thing that we actually saw already, and it's really cool that it still works in the context of this movie. Was the post credit scene, and I don't want to get into the post credit scene right now necessarily.
Yeah, that's a separate video. All
there's
by
a whole,
itself.
but there's a moment in there because we're never going to talk about that where Monica has an emotional like gut reaction to something, and I was like, this is a real moment. Like I found myself getting choked up in that moment, and I'm like, this is a Marvel's movie in a post-credit scene that's teeing up maybe nothing. And I'm like, Jesus, what are you doing to me, movie? Like this moment? And it was really cool, but like it was overshadowed by the fact that there was some crazy stuff happening in that movie.
Well,
anyway.
and then we'll talk about that, but hat tip to Tiona Parrish's entire performance, because God, she puts on. It's crazy she is not headlining films at this point in her career, because she's a monumental talent.
Give her a next wave movie, people. Come on.
Like honestly,
I want to move this real quick because we can go into our post-credit scene discussion.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, based on what you said, Sal, about paying off things.
Yeah.
I also like that we finally discovered and it got payoff to where was Captain Marvel for that 5 years? Why didn't she come home? What was the reason?
It's a good reason.
Like I thought that was going to be something that got just thrown out. Like we were just going to ignore the fact that Captain Marvel wasn't around for the blip. Like
Exactly.
It's a good enough reason, and it's frustrating, but she doesn't pretend to be like a character that's well developed or emotionally mature. They'd made an immature decision. She's
Yeah.
never mad at Marie for not being happy with her, not wanting to interact with her. She very much takes it on the chin. Like every interaction, she apologized to Kamala when she raised her voice. Like
Yeah.
knowing
They
if
did
the
a much better
writers,
job making Captain Marvel likable.
Yes,
Yeah, which-
that was like a note they actually were like, all right, you know what? Like,
and they simply did it by putting a little bit more Brie Larson there, like a little bit more humanity, a little bit more personality.
right?
Because
Like
it's not like,
she's in other things that where she is incredibly likable. It's
oh my
just
god,
that,
she's
like,
so much fun in everything she's in. She's
Yeah.
like she's a very, very talented actress. And like anybody who says otherwise are just angry Marvel fans. And to be fair, most of those people weren't going to go see this movie.
No.
This movie is headlined by 3 women and 2 people of color. It's not the core demographic of the people complaining about how this is a drab, terrible, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, so is Thor Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
So is Ant-Man the
It's
Quantumania.
actually funny going that. So we're driving to the movie, and I've told with my wife, and I'm like, "Hey," so she's like, "Well, how's the movie doing?" I'm like, "Not doing well." She
No.
goes,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, because a bunch of guys don't want to go see 3 female leads in a movie," and I'm like, "Yeah, but what did you say yesterday when I asked you if you wanted to go see the Marvels?" She goes, "Well, I told you I didn't want to see another female empowering movie that makes no sense to me." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"So if
Well-
you're saying that, now add in the angry men who don't want to see
Right.
that." Plus
And
the
what's-
other women who were like, I'm tired of female empowering movies that I don't want to see anymore.
And here's the most frustrating part of that, right? That's not what this is.
Not
No.
even close.
Or rather, it is, but in the way that like they used to make those. You know, like every person who hates this movie, and I don't mean to say that people hate this movie because of like technical issues. Let's say the people who are going to hate this movie no matter what, because I genuinely think that if people are like, I hated that singing and dancing scene, I feel like you hate people who were in that scene. Like I feel like you were going to hate it no matter what. But like,
I'm on board with saying it's cringe. I'm on board with not liking the scene.
Which
The
is
fact of the matter
cringe.
is, the
I
scene
mean,
is 5
every
minutes.
other thing in these movies are cringe. Let's
Yes.
be fair. Let's
Well, no,
be
but
frank.
not
These are
even that.
comic
Like,
book children's movies.
But,
Like-
but I'm going to throw this out there. I will accept that it's cringe and it's out of place and it doesn't even fit where it is in the movie.
I don't think it was out of place at all because it didn't
But-
like because none of it like what's the tone?
Yeah.
Well, but what I'm saying is, but I am going to say this
Yeah.
in the defense of the scene,
Uh-huh.
they didn't dwell on it.
No, it's
No,
it,
and
you
that's
get in,
what
you get
makes it-
out.
Yeah, it
It's-
was a quick joke. It was no longer than 5 minutes.
It's
it was
built
done.
in for 2 reasons, and I think it's integral to the movie because it's fun. It shows that she has this fun, like she's doing fun stuff in space too,
Yeah.
and then there's a diplomatic element to what she's doing, right? And then on top of that, it like introduced a planet with a really weird gimmick, but then immediately you're like, oh, this is gonna be frustrating and annoying, and then he's like, oh, cool. Oh, you speak English? He goes, yeah, he's bilingual. That's hilarious. That is a really
that
great,
punch-
snappy piece of
punchline.
dialogue.
Yeah.
That punchline. I'm agreeing with you, Hudson. That punchline was great. I loved
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Where she's like, I need to talk to you normal. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What?
And I like I'm a big Ant-Man fan. Like I love Ant-Man 1 and 2. Like they're some of the funniest movies ever. And when they're just trying to have fun, it's a good time. When you're trying to balance this incredibly serious, harsh tone with these, like really misplaced jokes, sometimes it hits a wall, right? But this movie is just, it's colorful, it's bright, the action is fun, the energy is fun, the chemistry is good. Yeah, you have Samuel Jackson once again for the 5th time rewriting how Nick Fury is played as a character.
Big time.
Like
he's just
dude,
doing a different thing.
he
Like, he's
either
just like, here's
doesn't
new Nick
know how
Fury.
to act. Like I had to ask myself this. I was in the theater and I was like, do I revere Samuel Jackson because I like him? Is he a bad actor? Like I don't know. Maybe
No,
not.
he's a great actor,
this
but
was
I don't
great
think he's
actor.
given much. Like I think he's taking more leeway than he is normally given, and I think he's
Yeah.
kind of like, who cares?
And here's what doesn't work about that. Secret Invasion. It's actually great on its own. You take Secret Invasion out of the bunch. We never watched that. Then you add Ben Mendelsohn back into the movie, right? On the
Right.
Skrull planet where we know nobody, these faceless nameless go, oh, Emperor blah, 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 blah. Oh, welcome, Emperor blah, 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 blah. Sorry, your
Yeah.
people just got genocided.
That,
Bummer.
that had a great moment, by the way, where the Emperor's on the ship and he just takes the crown off. Like,
Oh, he's
what am I
done.
even doing with this
Yeah,
anymore? And I'm like,
that felt so-
fair. What a great moment. What real filmmaking is going on here, where you're showing, not telling, and that's the point I
Yes.
was getting at originally. Before,
I thought
where
they
I'm
were
like,
going to ruin it. I thought they were going to ruin it and someone's going to say something. I'm like,
You
no.
should put
don't
your
say-
crown
just-
back on, King.
Yeah,
You're
no.
still the king. They need you. Like,
King,
no, they
yeah.
didn't do that.
right? Or a little girl picks it up and puts it on her head. Like none of that happens, and it's like it's for the movie's benefit, and it's so frustrating because like the same people who hate like the singing and dancing, and the same people who are like, why can't they make strong female characters in awesome female-led movies like Terminator and Aliens and stuff? And I'm like, that's what this movie actually ends up being, and not like that it's Terminator Aliens or as good as Terminator Aliens. I'm just saying like those movies manage to give you female empowerment without also setting the action sequence to I'm just a girl by no doubt. Like they also like You know what I mean? Like this was just watch these characters do their thing, and it's very much. It reminds me very much of Wonder Woman, the first movie, where like there were women in the theater and they had been waiting to see a Wonder Woman movie on screen their entire lives, or there were some like children in the theater who were little girls who wanted to sit, who were it was forming their interest in these kinds of movies for the first time. This movie could have been that if there was if there wasn't a SAG like actor strike, these actors were able to like. Can you imagine how much better this movie would have done if those three with that chemistry were just doing
a press junket
doing a
right
press
now?
junket all the time?
How many viral clips you could get out of that?
Yeah.
And people would be watching them because they don't like Brie Larson, and they'd be and frankly, if they take a second, they take a beat to like watch her or listen to anything of what she's saying. Super funny, very dry wit, really good sense of humor, and now she's got people that have legitimate chemistry with her, and that's like a lot of the Endgame touring. You had like clusters of actors that are required to be together for the length of this tour, whether they have chemistry or not. You get a Sebastian Stan Falcon Winter Soldier, which in theory ends up making a movie because they're so funny together, right?
Yeah.
But then you also get other people that don't have as comedic of a dynamic because that's just people and actors and chemistry. Exactly. I want to bring up Brie Larson because people have crapped on her to the ends of the earth for everything under the sun. I think she's a very talented actress. I think she's really great in this.
Yeah. But I do want to add to the Nick Fury thing.
Please.
Oh, please.
I was waiting for a moment. Well, I agree. It's completely out of character. But I also got a vibe that this is supposed to be the end of everything with Nick Fury.
Right.
So my vibe was very much like he's now turned into the monotone, everything's funny because I'm in the MCU, where everything turns into a joke anyway.
Right.
If this was him, if they never did Secret Invasion, this makes perfect tonal sense.
Yes.
They just made him as grim, dark, and boring as he's ever been one series ago. The direct predecessor to this. And then for the rest of the movie, he's like, all right, Captain Marvel, you got to use your powers. Come on, why aren't you using your powers, Captain? This family's making me crazy. This cat's on my shit. Like, he's just chilling, dude.
My favorite line ever. My favorite line. I cracked up. There's the scene where Kamala's falling. She's got to go catch her.
Yeah.
And then she's falling, and he just looks, and it's like, bloop, Carol. Oh, it's Carol. Just the way he delivered
Carol.
that.
No worries.
Great. It's just Carol. It's fine.
Well, and then like the mom had some great one-liners, some like really funny ones. She goes,
"The parents are great. The Miss
Mr. Fury, you need to check on that cat. It's not normal." And the cat's like, it's obviously not normal, but it's throwing up even weirder stuff than usual.
Yeah.
Like, something's wrong with that cat.
And they had a Trouble and Tribbles moment right in the middle of this, where there's just eggs of cats.
Yes.
It was crazy.
Yes.
No, like they had a Star Trek thing going on in the middle of all of this.
And it's like,
but
that's
back
the
to
thing.
Brie Larson.
We're just having, well, and I'll say, like, look how much fun we're having with this discussion.
Right.
And I'll say that, like, Ant-Man, me and Sal did Ant-Man together, and you go back and watch that hour-long video where we're scratching our heads, frustrated and angry, because that movie had so much to live up to, and not even, like, what it means for the universe, what it meant for its franchise, for its third movie, and it crapped its bed. It was one of the worst things I've ever put to screen with some of the best actors I've ever seen. And this movie is something that I had low expectations to go into because it's just a movie, right? Like, I didn't like the first Captain Marvel movie. I liked the first 3 episodes of Miss Marvel, and then I didn't like much else. But I like the actors. I like the energy behind some of the marketing, some of the material that I'd seen. And I went and I saw it, and I had a good time. And then the Brie Larson of it all, she got a ton of crap. And the people that are going to continue to crap in her in the comment section of probably this video and the greater internet.
Well, they collectively go from video to video.
They do. They bounce from place to place.
I just made a video where I kind of did research on the Brie Larson issue. The problem with it is the Brie Larson got attacked. It was partially because of the MCU and Kevin Feige.
Also, because she said something that was like stupid at some point.
She said something that was taken out of context. On top of Kevin Feige now stating that Captain Marvel is going to be the strongest hero in the entire universe. Which even if it can be true, it's still like, are you really going to take everything we built up for 10 years, throw it out, and say she's strongest? That's going to be a problem no matter what.
Well, and
especially because the fact that it's going to hit the ear of somebody who like cares about who's strongest, like in a very visceral way.
I gotta say, like, I never.
But on top of
that kind of thing.
I never did either. At the end of the day, and even in the video, I said, look, the Hulk is technically the strongest, but yes, Miss Marvel, if she could knock out the Hulk before he got more powerful, would win that fight. But the issue is the Hulk could get angrier and beat Captain Marvel. It's a whole is a lot more nuanced.
Who cares? Who cares? It's fate.
It doesn't matter. Wanda could technically kill all of them. Like, hex magic.
In a Hulk movie, Hulk would beat Captain Marvel. In a Captain Marvel movie, Captain Marvel beat the Hulk. In a comic book where the two of them are fighting. Whichever one the writer likes more is going to win. That's how it works. Your gods are fake and a lie. I'm sorry to tell you this. Like, you live in a vast entropy.
Your God is a lie. God's
But
fake.
what I was saying,
God is a lie. It's not real.
what I was getting at is the argument is a lot more nuanced because it's exactly what you said. What does the writer want? It's a fictional character, and how are we going to do it? We have 101 different rules why each of them could easily win a fight.
Yes.
Just like we have 101 rules why Batman could beat Spider-Man and Spider-Man could beat Batman.
Right.
The issue came out of she had misspoke, or she basically misspoke out of context, on top of Kevin Feige not adding to that nuance, just basically going, Captain Marvel is the strongest, which is then going to start that argument. On top of that was probably the biggest push of the political woke versus anti-woke argument at that time period, 18 to 19.
Yeah.
So she just got like triple dipped on all at the same exact time.
Yeah.
And on top of that, Captain Marvel had a great niche fan base. They put her as a forefront in Civil War II, where they just made her a pig-headed idiot that didn't listen to anyone.
So
and
stupid.
your majority Marvel fans are now going to read that, and that is their exposure to Captain Marvel,
Right.
who now is being played by an actress that is misspeaking, who is now being told that she's the strongest in their MCU movies.
Yeah.
It was just way too much in Brie Larson's plate.
That's right.
And then as usual with most of these actors, they triple down.
Yeah.
Well,
Instead of being like, oh, let's correct this on a PR tour. She's like,
you can't,
"What the
like,
fuck
add
you
doesn't
want?"
matter. She
to a
doesn't have
PR
to.
tour.
She doesn't need to do that because
she shouldn't
does
have
Robert
to.
Downey Jr. go around apologizing for his cynical, rude, disrespectful comments that he drops 24/7? No,
I mean, he
because that's
apologized
his
to Tropic
shtick.
Thunder.
Well, yeah.
No,
Well,
he
I
didn't.
meant like that's it's his
Did
whole
he?
shtick,
I don't
right?
think he did.
And Brie Larson's shtick is so similar. It's so similar. It's a woman delivering it, so it's condescending versus a man delivering where it's witty. And now I can't wait to read all the comments hating on me and attacking me and crapping all over me for making the statement. But like, it is what it is. I love Robert Downey Jr. I also really like Brie Larson. I like dislike her every once in a while when in an interview. Like, I dislike everybody who says like weird stuff in interviews. But in general, like, watch Scott Pilgrim. Watch this movie. This movie's really fun.
Fact is on Brie Larson and every actor and actress that you get all upset about being on a political spectrum. Here's how I look at it. Brie Larson has as much most likely as much knowledge as, say, Hassan does about a lot of this shit.
Right.
Me and Hassan can have an argument, but you know what Hassan's not going to convince me to do? Change my political views. You know who would actually do that? Potentially politicians or people in legal actual situations and stuff like that. So if you don't want to hear the political opinions, left or right, of an actor or actress, don't listen. Like, I see so many people be like, oh, I can't watch this movie because of their political leanings. And I'm like, so why are you listening to the political leanings of some 20-something-year-old actress who has had her entire life handed to her on a silver platter because she got successful at the age of 17?
Also,
why are you listening?
Did you guys go to high school? Do you remember what theater kids are like? They're not the trustworthy bunch for anything. I wouldn't ask a theater kid to help me with my homework, let alone tell me what to vote for. They're weird little idiots.
Yes.
And I say that with love. They're talented, funny, silly little goofy
You're also
people.
a theater kid. That's why we don't listen to you. But
I'm not a theater kid. You seem like a theater kid, Mr. Theatrical Comic Book Reading.
I was
don't
a
hear
hockey
that.
player. I was knocking people out. But anyway.
Okay, well, whatever.
I joined hockey because I was like, how can I get in fights? Oh, hockey's a great way to do that.
That sounds correct.
Yeah.
That
Anyway,
sounds correct.
I don't want to turn this into a political debate. I just want to let, because
It's not a political. It's never been. I'm tired of the word political being used to describe. People just don't like women because they don't like women. That's not fair. Brie Larson's funny and charismatic, and the same way Robert Downey Jr. is. It either lands if you respect women on the same level as men do, or you like that kind of humor, or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't for you and for Robert Downey Jr., I urge you to go back and watch an RDJ interview, but put that lens on that he's about to be just as rude as Brie Larson was, but it's going to come across better.
From 90% of your actors and
anything, and that's his whole shtick. So she's a fun actress. Iman Vellani is fantastic. People crapped on this movie because there were
Iman Vellani is the reason I went to the movie, and Iman Vellani sold that whole movie.
Oh,
she is
so fun.
She stole the show.
Stole the show, and as she does every time she's on screen, she's such a talented actress. Like when she's like, "Oh my god," and she says it the same way every time, and it's really funny to me, and it's so entertaining because she's a very real human being. Like every part of her, every aspect of her life is painfully real in a way that a lot of these MCU movies and a lot of these MCU characters can't be because they're larger than life or they're irrelevant to the normal world. She feels so personable and so interesting. I question why her whole family's in Louisiana packing boxes at the end of that film, but other than that, this all tracks really well.
Yeah.
I know you've seen that text there, Hassan. I'm calling you out. Sal's got to get going, guys. So we're going to wrap up the episode. I just told Sal, I'm like, I know. Hassan won't stop. I keep trying to end this like 6 times.
I was just giving you guys a warning. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But anyway, guys, we're gonna wrap it up because Sal does have to run real soon. But we got a lot of points across. And I appreciate both your guys' opinions on this because I think in general we agree on the movie being as good as it is. But I think it's actually a little interesting because we each have things we liked and hated differently.
Yeah.
But we all agree that the movie was good, and we all had a different opinion on everything going on. And I think this is probably one of our best movie discussions because of that. So I really want to thank you guys for being here today. But don't forget, if you want to keep the Absolutely channel going and reviews like this happening, then make sure you check out our sponsors. Gamer Subs, use the code COMICS. Shortbox, click the link down below, or just go to the Patreon of Comicstorian, which is being used to fund a lot of these projects and stuff like this. All of that is going to be available for you to click down below if you want to join us and keep us going. And either way, let us know your opinions on the Marvels movie. We'll be doing another talk about the post-credits scene very, very soon, and I hope to have you around here for that. We'll see you next time.